Time now for hour number 1 of the Saturday Special. With the man of the hour, here's Michael Zwerling. This is KSCO.
Josh Stevens. I have no personal question for you, but I'll have 2 of them next hour or next week.
Oh, Cammie has one.
Really? What is it? What is it? Too much dead air. Never mind. Forget it. Okay. Dave Michaels.
Good morning, MZ. How are you?
Fine, Dave Michaels. Are you okay too?
I'm fine. Yeah,
I'm a little verschimmeled today.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, because nothing's going right, and people are getting here late, and people aren't connecting. I can't get through to people when I'm supposed to, and we're trying to get a connection with Italy. You know, the country that's on lockdown. We have a good friend in Italy, and I can't raise anybody. Here at your favorite radio station. Of course, here you're here, which is good.
Yes. If your friend has a headset, he could dial in with Opal, which works just fine. And he has a computer. I'm sure he does. Most people do nowadays.
Oh, jeez. Anyhow, we're going to have to do this. We're going to do it a different way. Okay. It'll be sort of a feeble way. It'll be sort of a primitive way, but we tested that way earlier today. So for right now, Dave Michaels, you are here to announce the last day ever of a sale. Now, we're not going to gouge people like everybody else does, but you're not going to be able to have a deal like this probably ever again.
Forever.
Yeah, probably. The buy 2, get 1 free. So this is the last day for that. And after today, we will have stuff available at the Dave Cave. Well, but are you going to have are you going to be here regularly?
Yeah, of course I'm going to be here regularly. When? I mean, all week?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I usually get here at 3.
But the sale, okay, fine, but you won't be here at 12 noon to 7.
No, we're running pretty low on stuff.
Gotcha.
So today's the last day.
Okay, by the time Monday or Tuesday, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, we should have a new shipment of the product. But we're not going to do what a lot of unsavory companies are doing, and that's raising prices. We're not going to do that, but we're not going to be doing the sale. So if you want to get in on the sale and stock up to the extent you can, we got BTT, right?
We do. We have BTT 2.0.
And some of the other big sellers.
Sure, yeah, we got plenty of glucogel.
Yeah. So the urgency, if you guys are looking for something to be urgent about, be urgent about coming to the Dave Cave today between now and 2 p.m.
Sounds good. Every Saturday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. This is the last day, though. Maybe even by the time you're listening to this broadcast, if it's a rebroadcast, just give us a call and find out what the scoop is.
Yeah, but after that, people are well advised to come and to get the products even at regular price.
Even at regular, we always have great deals, even though.
You make deals like in quantity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
today's the last day. Stop by the Dave Cave, buy 2, get 1 free. And I just got, MZ, I don't know if you noticed this, but I got the KSCO shopping bags in as well. So now we have shopping bags, hats, T-shirts, beanies, sweatshirts. We've got all that stuff, bumper stickers as well down at the Dave Cave. You can support your favorite radio station and look good while you do it. Every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's just some of the stuff that I have out there. For KSCO
and we
fans.
just to make sure that people don't misunderstand, we don't care if you support your radio station and look bad while doing it, as long as you support us, right?
But this is a double bonus. You can support your favorite radio station and look good. See, look at this shirt.
It's fabulous.
Beautiful,
it's a Flight 1080,
Flight 1080 on the front. KSCO on the back.
Oh, wow.
These are great. I have them out at the Dave Cave, MZ.
God, this is
every
fantastic.
Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Today's the last day. Buy 2, get 1 free before 2 p.m. today.
Yes.
If you're listening to a rebroadcast, give us a call and find out what the scoop is.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, and with that.
Good morning. A brighter day is here. Good morning. May we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
How are all you folks feeling today?
Beautiful.
Unusual. Beautiful? Is that what you said?
Beautifully unusual.
Okay. Yeah, these are different times, ladies and gentlemen. I don't quite know how I feel. I guess we'll figure it out during the Saturday special, though, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so stay with us for the next 2 hours. I think you'll be happy you did.
Good morning. Now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
Hi, this is Jonty McCollyer, KSCO's Director of Digital Media. I need your help with a little something that is, well, personal. Just between you and me, poor old MZ is suffering more and more from age-related forgetfulness. He forgot to tell you that the Saturday Special podcast is available on iTunes and Google Play, and that the Saturday Special has its own YouTube channel. He even forgot to tell you that we have a Saturday Special newsletter, which will be ground zero to continue the conversation off air. I told MZ we'd start mailing the Saturday Special newsletter as soon as we got our first 1,000 subscribers. But he forgot to promote it, so I reminded him. Then he forgot again. Now I'm here with a personal plea. Let's let poor old MZ know that we think the Saturday Special is something worth remembering. Go to SaturdaySpecial.com and sign up for the newsletter now. That's SaturdaySpecial.com. The first 1,000 subscribers will get a special treat you will help us choose. That's SaturdaySpecial.com. Do it quickly before you forget.
Okay, Josh, are we ready to do the 122 promo? 3, 2, 1. Always striving to be different, I had planned to specifically avoid discussion of coronavirus on my next Saturday Special program. After all, people are sick of talking about it, right? But on the other hand, could it be irresponsible for us to not talk about such an all-encompassing, critical, unprecedented global topic? But then I received a call from Tom Quinn, for years the host of the Perspectives program on KSCO. And speaking of perspectives, Tom's is quite different. He believes, in a nutshell, that the government, the globalists, the Trump haters, and the media in particular are playing us like a fiddle, all with the aim of dismantling the rights of the people, enriching the pharmaceutical industry, and using mass hysteria to control the world. Could Tom be right? Listen and decide on the next KSCO special this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on We Will Feed You All the Facts and Opinions Radio, FM 104.1 and AM 1080 KSCO. You know what, Josh Stevens? We really should use the crossfire instead of this fanfare. Do you have that handy?
I do. I also have our guest music as well, if you want to get into that, too.
The guest music?
Yeah. Remember?
No.
Something, a certain type of vendor?
No.
A peanut vendor.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, do the crossfire. Here it is. Good. This might be more appropriate for today. I don't want to make light of this. This is a very serious subject for everybody. We present all perspectives here on your favorite radio station. Some people might think that they might not like what they hear today from our good friend Tom, but tough. Okay, Tom Quinn, welcome back to KSCO. We miss you.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Pretty good. So you did call me during the week, and it wasn't to lobby to do a radio show, but it was to tell me that you think it's all a bunch of BS and that it's overreaction.
Well, it's certainly getting into the realms of super hype. By the way, did we get?
We
Gary
do.
Null?
We have Gary on the line.
Are you there, Gary?
Well, no.
Oh, not yet.
I haven't put him.
Okay,
I wanted
that's
to
fine.
let you set your.
Okay,
set us
good.
up
Let me
first.
throw up. Well,
But Gary can hear it all.
I mean, one thing that people have to think about, and you and I are about the same age. We're old enough to go back in time and think about what about. They had the swine flu. When was that? 2002. Everyone in the world was supposed to die. Then they had the avian flu. Then they had SARS. Then they had Ebola. Various Disney measles cases that were supposed to, destroy the whole state. Zika virus.
I don't remember the
MRSA. Dengue fever.
Sure,
I mean,
there's
year,
lots of them.
Every year they
something.
come up with a new one. So
but
this
not
is the
to
one.
this extent.
Well,
not to this extent,
is
right?
My concern actually is not as much about the virus and the fact that some people have gotten sick from it, and according to them, a few people have died from it. My concern is the overreaction that the media is using, and using it in such a way to attack our constitutional rights.
Now, Do you think that, I mean, little devil's advocate here, you think that's planned, or do you think it's unintentional, but that's what's happening, in your opinion, because of the way it's being overly driven?
Yeah, right. Because it's the same, it's almost like it's impeachment 2.0. I mean, they wanted to impeach Trump. They went on and on about that for years. And
it is, and I've noticed that no matter what Trump does, the Trump haters, even if it's something that you would think that they would love, they chide him even more. Anyhow, I get it, and that's just...
Well, the thing is, I mean, our sympathy goes out for the people who are sick, and there have been some people that died, but then again, there's a clear evidence of some sort of super hype, and also an overreaction on the part of many government officials. For example, you had Bernie Sanders, good old Bolshevik Bernie, talk about how the government should take the power away from Trump and set up some sort of board where they would make the decisions and take that power away from the president. That's a very draconian statement. Or you see San Francisco, where they're saying that they're not going to allow public demonstrations. The same thing was happening in Australia. Or you mentioned Italy. You have a friend in Italy we might get a hold of later. And that's a very extreme thing there. It's the same sort of situation. You have this very extreme left-wing, very vocal activists who are basically just shutting down businesses. Imagine if you're one of the businesses and they just say, well, we're going to shut down this part of town for weeks on end. And a lot of these families are going to lose their businesses or go bankrupt. For a flu, there's something like 50,000 people a year who die in the United States from just regular old flu. And what, we've had a few dozen people, they say, have died from this? So is that overreaction? Why haven't they been doing this every year for the normal flu or for the Zika virus or the dengue fever?
Very good point. I believe Rico is listening to us on the stream. If he is, I will ask him that maybe he should call in. I had talked about maybe after 10:30, but it's getting pretty close. Since we've mentioned this, it's no secret that the entire country of Italy is on lockdown.
Very, very extreme from my point of view.
Well, okay. Anyhow, if Rico can give us a call on the WhatsApp, like we tested this morning, the other thing isn't going to happen. In case you're listening, Rico, I was hoping that we could bring him in on the system.
There's one point I'd like to make right at the beginning of the show, and I'm sure Gary Null will have a thing or two to say about it also, is that if people think the germs, bacteria, and virus are the primary cause of disease, they're looking at this incorrectly. The primary cause of disease is the way the person lives, their lifestyle, their connection to God, the quality of their diet, whether they're being subjected to petrochemicals and other poisons. That's the direction we should be looking at. Improving people's health. You sell Dr. Wallach's products here, other things, nutritional supplements that make people healthy and strong. When people are healthy and strong, they don't have a problem with flu.
Yeah. Okay, well, so what do you think should be done? You think they should just, if you were in charge now, and you were the czar, you were the king, how would you change what's happening right now, and how, especially with the media, which you say is overreacting? And the government is overreacting too, in your opinion, yes?
Well, I think the average person needs to, and I'm sure Gary's going to say something about this too, to make the 101 improvements in their own life that make them healthier, that make them stronger. I remember, who was it, Clint Eastwood was saying a number of months ago about how many of these people are just wusses. I can remember growing up here in California where, being brought up by World War II veterans, they wanted us to get out in the mud. They wanted us to go out in the rivers and swim and wrestle and fight, and we'd be walking down the orchard roads with our .22s. I mean, the whole point was to bring up children who are robust, who are healthy, who are out in the sun and wind, who have good diet, who are strong, who are mentally agile. That's the direction we want to go, not towards, I would say, this is what's being promoted here is a type of medical fascism, where they're saying, we want to shut down your business, or we don't want you to have a public demonstration, or For example, I'm sure they'd love to shut down the Trump rallies. That probably is very disturbing to them. So you can see that from a constitutional point of view and from a civil libertarian point of view, this goes in a lot of different directions, and it's worthy of deeper thought than just hysterical emotion.
Right. Okay. We're talking with Tom Quinn. Let me bring in our other special guest of the day at Tom's recommendation. Dr. Gary Null is actually a talk show host. Am I right, Gary?
One of the 3 longest surviving talk show hosts in American history.
Oh, wow, that's great. And you are based in Connecticut, is that right?
New York City.
New York City. Okay, well, pretty close. And you and Tom Quinn have known each other for many years. Tom has been very interested in alternative health and other, what's really going on. And I think you have a background in what's really going on in the world of health and medicine and so forth. So Tom thought it would be good for you to join us and be present during this program. And now he's gone. Okay. Josh, you got to get him, you got to recall him, and this time do it on the VIP line. And I remember I said last week, the Saturday special is not a time to be training somebody new, because that's what happens all day long. I know it is, but I don't want it happening again, because now that was very rude to our guest. Please call him back on the VIP line and lock him in so that can't happen, okay? So, and again, no training at all during the Saturday special. None, 0, 0, 0, 0, none, okay? I mean it. So he'll get Gary back on. In the meantime, you're talking about. So what do you think? What do you think? Where do you think we're headed? Because you think we're headed wherever we're headed, it's unnecessary. You think largely unnecessary.
I'm going to hit the positive. The positive is this is going to be a good experience, because it's going to make people see that they have to run a tighter ship. They have to have a better diet. They have to exercise their mental and spiritual attitude. I think it's very good that people pray and ask for God's guidance. We're little tiny people on a little tiny planet dealing with immense complexity. Certainly someone who's intelligent can see there's some advantage of asking for guidance. This particular situation is sophisticated, but the direction is towards the direction of health, and health is connected with freedom. And when you see things like there was some city in New York that they wanted to have the National Guard there. You see Australia limiting public demonstrations. So what was it? Newark, New Jersey, spreading misinformation about the coronavirus was going to be for jail time. So this is, the America that we love, that has a constitution, has these freedoms that are passed down to us from our ancestors, is worthy of protection, and letting a flu-like virus disturb that is not rational. The thing about these viruses is that we're in a sea of viruses. If you move your arm through the air, there's billions and trillions of bacteria, germs, and viruses of all type. The average person, from their mouth to their tail end, has billions of bacteria and viruses.
Hold on, Rico. Hold on. Just go ahead, Tom.
Yeah. So, the whole thing is to be afraid of the natural world, to be afraid of something that you're swimming in viruses or part of your natural life is abnormal. Now, it's true there's certain commercial interests that feel they can make money from this. If they can convince you that all the weeds in the world are out to attack you, you'll buy Black Flag. You'll buy these different weed poisons, glycophosphates and stuff. Or if you feel all the ants or the bugs are going to kill you, you get Black Flag and all these different poisons. And part of this is a sales campaign. They have to convince you that all the bacteria and viruses that you're swimming in a sea of are out to get you, which is not the problem at all. Those viruses and bacteria are part of the natural biology of the entire system, the way it's been created. And they're nothing to be afraid of. In fact, If you don't have bacteria in your body, you wouldn't be able to digest your food properly. You know, if you go out to the farms and the forest, and you'll see that the plants, they can put their roots down deep into the dirt, but it's actually the bacteria that do the final digestion for the roots. They're the ones that break down the smaller particles, the rocks and sand and dirt, so that the roots can pull up the nutrients. The very same thing is true in your body. Your body, your upper intestine, lower intestine, is filled with countless, I assume billions, of different types of bacteria and germs and such, and they assist with the final stages of digestion.
Okay.
Everywhere you go, there's germs and bacteria. Just get used to it.
All right, I want to introduce Rico, who is, I don't even, Rico, I need to help me introduce you, okay?
Yeah, I'm just a civilian living in Turin, which is northwest of Italy, and I'm a football coach, an American football coach, and I am connected somehow with the Cal football program.
Yes, the Cal football program, Cal Bears in Berkeley, is run by my nephew, Andrew McGraw, and you and he have been good friends for many years. And when I knew I was going to do this program, it occurred to me that I should check with Rue and ask him if he might be able to connect me with you to get your perspective as someone who is living in Italy right now and under what we understand is a complete lockdown of the and everybody's quarantined. Is that right? I mean, tell us what's going on there.
Yes, so it started like 2 weeks ago, slowly. The government warned all of us to, use precaution to prevent the virus to spread. But nobody knew how bad and how fast it was at the beginning. And after a week or so, things get really worse fast. And that's the reason why the government and the president on TV and everywhere spread the news about the complete lockdown. And at the beginning, the lockdown wasn't that bad because the restriction wasn't that much. But soon we discovered that the virus was keep spreading really fast. So again, the government decided to force every one of us at home, and now just the people that work at pharmacy or hospitals are allowed at work.
Okay, now you're not allowed at work, but are you quarantined in your house? I mean, are you allowed to go out and take a walk in the fresh air, or tell us about that, please?
We are only allowed to go to shop food, or to go to pharmacy or to a doctor, and we have to auto-certificate us. So we have to file a paper, to write a paper that says I'm justifying myself outside of my house because of that reason. And they check you. Police is all over, and the army too, and they are checking people to see why they were leaving the house and where they were they're going. So that's the only reason why people can move around. And if you go to shop food, the grocery store only allow one people per time inside, depending how big it is.
Wow.
The big grocery store, the big supermarket allow like 5 people at time. So a long queue is outside of any food store. And it's weird and it's bad, but it's for the best of everyone.
So I don't know if you've been able to listen on our live stream. to any of the program up until now. Okay, so you heard Tom Quinn, and he believes that at least on this end, in this end of the world, the concern is too much. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Tom. Your mic is open, so if I say anything that isn't quite right, please.
Extreme reaction.
Yeah, he says, and it's an extreme reaction. Rico and our audience, I apologize. Whenever Rico is on my iPhone that's being held up to the microphone here, we were unable to use any kind of other system to integrate Rico into our system so that he could speak directly with callers or other guests on this program, whether they're here in the studio or whether they're across the world, across the country, like Dr. Gary Null is, and he's back. We haven't locked him in yet, but he can hear everything that we're saying. So I'm going, you bear with us for as long as Rico is willing and able to be with us and people want to ask him questions. I'm going to have to relay those questions to him and for him to, answer. I won't have to relay because you'll be able, everybody will hear what he says.
You have a jack for your headphone?
Do I have a jack for my headphone?
Or for your iPhone?
Yeah.
We could get him in over here.
Yeah, but it's not going to...
It would be piped in directly.
Yes, the piping him in is not the problem, Josh. What the problem is hearing other people being able to hear him. So
Through
that's
the
why...
speakers.
Huh? When the speakers are on, the mic is going to be off. I've thought this out. I know what I'm talking about. There's no way to do this unless we could get it lashed into the system properly, and the engineers tell me that is impossible today on 1 minute notice. Okay, so it's something we have to work on. So we either, if we're going to continue to have input from Rico live in Italy, this is the way we have to do it, and it's fine. I think the quality is okay as far as hearing him is concerned. Yeah. So, Tom, do you have any question for Rico? Or I can ask a question too. Rico, do you? Well, I think I know the answer already. He's already said it's necessary. So,
Yes, it is.
what do you think about? And I'm not trying to stir up a fight here. I know I'm sort of an instigator, but that's not my opinion. That's not my intention here. If you heard, Rico, what Tom said at the beginning during his monologue, do you take issue with? It sounds like you might, right?
Yeah, I'm against that, really, because we are fighting an invisible enemy, which is really bad. It's not bad for me at all, because I'm 44-year-old and I'm in good health situation, in good shape. I'm fat, yes, but I'm okay. But the real problem is for the old people, 65, 70 and older, because their health system is not as good as ours, so the virus is killing fast. I tell you this, we went from like 3-4 deaths per day to almost 200 killed people a day. In Turin, we went in 1 week from 3 people to 60 people death, only in our city. And the number of people affected by virus spread because we were underestimating the problem. Last week only, we went from 3,000 to 10,000, and now we went to... We are now almost 20,000 people, so it's bad. And we are now about 1,500 killed people by the virus.
Holy
in
Christmas.
the country.
That's pretty scary, and they're pretty old people too. Tom,
Yes,
you're shaking your head, Tom. Why are you shaking your head, Tom?
Because
Hold on, Rico.
we're being asked to believe statistics that we don't have first. This is all hearsay. It wouldn't stand up in a court of law. In other words, if you have a country like the United States that has 50,000 people a year die from flu, and they're basically saying that so many people die now, we don't know specifically what they're dying from. They could be dying from the flu that's been happening for hundreds of years. They're saying it's coronavirus. It'd be very easy for someone who was had ill motivations to pump these numbers up. The other thing is that coronavirus is an extremely common type of virus that's existed since the beginning of time. There's hundreds of different varieties of it. They're saying that they have one that's a super duper one, but they do not, by their own admission, have good testing to even determine which virus it is. So the point I'm trying to say, it's very easy to exaggerate these statistics. Another thing that complicates the issue here in the United States is the pharmaceutical industry pressured the government to get money, and they managed to get $8 billion out of Trump. So now they got a slush fund. So the local towns and cities can say they have a problem with coronavirus. Many of the flu cases that have been happening for hundreds of years, they can just recategorize as coronavirus, and suddenly they get all this federal money. So here again, cool heads have to prevail. I'm a big believer in hard logic. Every single one of these cases should be looked at very carefully before they're added into a statistic pile.
Okay, great. Rico, did you get that? Did you hear, Tom? Okay, good. Now I'm going to bring on Dr. Gary Null, and you can listen. You won't be able to hear him because I can't have a speaker on when our mic is on. But if you continue to monitor our stream, which was probably only a few seconds or maybe 10 or 15 seconds delay, you'll be able to hear the program. So this will be fine if that's okay with you. Okay. So,
yes, it is.
Good. So let me bring on Dr. Gary Null and lock him in this time so that he can't accidentally be dropped. Gary, thank you. Thank you for bearing with us here. Usually we're much more together here at KSCO. But I'm assuming that you have heard what Rico, our friend in Torino, Italy, has said. And I assume you've heard what Tom Quinn has said. What are you going to say?
I come from this with a different point of view. I'm not political. I'm a scientist. I'm a PhD in human nutrition and public health science, research fellow at the Institute of Applied Biology, and director of anti-aging medicine at the Institute of Applied Biology for 33 years. I've conducted over 42 clinical trials, published in peer-reviewed literature. So mine is a different perspective. First up, let's just deal with facts. Then we'll see which of those statements are being made by the mainstream media are grounded in accuracy or inaccurate based upon mathematical models which traditionally have been extremely unreliable. For example, how susceptible are we? That's the first thing. Princeton University and the University of California at Los Angeles and the National Institute of Health posted online this week that the COVID or the coronavirus 19 can remain in the air from just people breathing, normal breathing, not coughing or sneezing, for up to 3 hours post the aerosolization out of the mouth. But then when it drops down, because it's heavier than the air and remains on surface areas, it can live for up to 3 days. We also know, and this is a minimum of 5.1 days from a person being seeded from another person with no symptoms to manifesting their own symptoms, generally non-productive dry cough, dizziness, also temperature, and chills. Now, also, those are frequently from other viruses as well, and then they have to realize the problem. It's not that we're over-exaggerating the problem in America, it's we're grossly underprepared at every level. Now, there are 3 islands in the world that are really at the epicenter. Shanghai, which is an island, Hong Kong, which is an island, and Thailand, which is an island.
Taiwan.
Taiwan, which is an island. Now, they started off with being behind the 8 ball on this, but then they started quarantine. And when a person was in quarantine for 2 weeks and did not manifest symptoms, then they allowed them out. And then they started to quarantine all people and test everyone coming in, even though the initial test, a temperature to the forehead, is a grossly inaccurate reading because unless the virus has taken the immune system and the immune system is fighting back, and one of the ways the immune system fights back is with a fever. So if you haven't had a fever yet you're seeded, meaning you are infected, then that person is going to be passed out of quarantine, out of an airport, and believe that they are no longer infected or not infected, and therefore don't represent a problem. This morning, I went into Whole Foods, and I wanted to see how bad it was. Well, there was the longest line I've ever seen, like 15 lines going clear back. The queue was very long. And what I did walking around the store, I wanted to see how many people were doing the basics. I found one person in the entire store, a woman who had on a good filtration mask. Now, the masks you're going to buy online, most of them, or in drugstores, these are not the masks that are going to prevent a virus from getting through. You have to have a 99 registered mask, meaning 99% of the particulate matter from a virus or bacteria will be locked. And that's even better than some of the surgical masks. Remember, when a surgeon, a nurse, people in an operating theater have a mask on, the reason they have a mask is not to protect themselves from you, but for you to be protected when a wound is open and they're breathing into it, and just the normal droplets of water can infect a whole room. In fact, there was an orator brought into Parliament when a lot of people started to get sick, and they sprayed a non-pathogenic bacteria in the person's throat. This is over a weekend when it was empty, and they put Petri dishes. These are little mediums of agar that grow out different bacteria and viruses. And the person stood at one end and simply spoke as you normally would in the voice to reach that people. He wasn't yelling and screaming, wasn't singing. The next day, virtually every one of those Petri dishes were infected. So I'm thinking, gee whiz, here are people touching their mouth, touching their eyes, touching that bar, and it's not disinfected. Every single item you pick up off a shelf has had multiple hands touch it. There was a woman at the farmer's market, and I'm standing beside her. The guy at the avocado stand had no gloves on, no mask on, and was stirring avocado blend. People were lined up to get it. Beside that was some cherries. A woman was eating cherries. I said, ma'am, are you aware of how many unsanitized hands have touched that? She said, I don't care, and continued eating the cherries. Now, in some cases, fruits and vegetables will be touched by fecal fingers as much as 20 times before it gets to your table, and yet people think, well, it's organic and that's better. It's better in one sense, but it's even worse in another sense. So understand the basics. When you get into a cab, if someone has sneezed in that cab or a subway or a bus, a plane or train, it's an incubator. You're into a bubble. Now, you can do some things that make sense, but here's the problem, and this is the biggest problem we face in America: compliance. We're known for being defiant. We refuse. Look at it this way. It took this entire pandemic to get people to wash their hands. Does that tell you something about the average American? And here are supposed to be upper, mobile, more educated and wealthy people, and I didn't see one of them that I would give a passing mark for how they shop. Here's how you should go out. First, get yourself a mask that is a highly rated mask that is tight on the sides, because 50% of the air coming through masks come through on the sides, and that means that mask's not doing you any good. You get a mask that's tight to the cheeks. If it's not tight to the cheeks, tape it to your cheeks. Secondly, your fingers, your fingernails harbor bacteria. So if you want the ideal, if you have $500, you take $500 and you throw it in a washing machine with just a teaspoon of bleach and laundry detergent. It comes out, you put that into a clean white envelope. I've done this for decades, by the way. And then you have your ones, and however much you think you're going to need is how much you take. And then when you go out, you've got your clean bills, because the average dollar bill, if you went into everyone's pocket in America today and you took out every single dollar bill in America that's been in common use is contaminated with various bacteria and viruses. And Tom is correct. Our body is made up 10 times more bacteria than cells. However, the microbiome, which I've written extensively on, in the intestine, can have hundreds of billions of bacteria. But what you eat, sugar, alcohol, meat, toxicants, can turn the bacteria to being pathogenic. If you eat clean foods and you have clean water and clean juices in your body and probiotics and prebiotics like sauerkraut and apple cider and other things, miso, then you're creating good bacteria. So it's not that we should be afraid of germs. And I agree at the beginning of the show talking about going out and playing as a kid. I'm a baby boomer. And yes, my parents and others, my father fought in World War II, and all my aunts and uncles did. So we were used to all drinking out of one water hose and biking and getting into the woods, getting dirty. It naturally built up our immune system. Growing up on a farm, as many people did, that was a super strong immune system. Today we have people who are living in bubbles, multiple bubbles. In the professional class, lawyers, doctors, engineers, scientists, hedge fund owners, professors, their children, more often than not, will grow up in an intellectual bubble, an emotional bubble, and an environmental bubble.
Well, Gary, this is excellent. Please,
hold on a second. Let me just finish my thought. So when they get in the real world and they come face to face with what you got to do, they're not prepared to wash their hands because they didn't think they had to. We don't even clean ourselves properly, and like with a bidet. So everyone's running on paper towels and toilet paper. Well, let me tell you, friend, you got enough after you've wiped yourself to kill an elephant in fecal matter, and that's on seats everywhere. Every single study ever done shows that it goes right through your pants. It's a major cause of cystitis, which the bacteria migrate right into the urethra and in women's bladders, and it causes millions of these cases. So when you want to go out, if you want to protect yourself, first you wear disposable gloves, and before you put on the gloves, just do a little bit of dab of coconut oil, massage it into your skin, and that protects you. Secondly, know this. On almost any crowded area, you're going to have people spreading viruses. Forget the coronavirus for a moment. All kinds of viruses. I gave a lecture to my staff in New York 3 days ago, and I said, if any of you manifest any symptoms at all, you stay home. One person came in who had symptoms, didn't tell anyone, and one of the employees went over and said, looks like you're a little sick. Oh, just allergies. No, you don't have those symptoms with allergies. Now, so when I found out, I sent the person home. I then did a lecture, and here's what I told them you should do, and you should all do it at home as well. Take some simple isopropyl alcohol. That is better than any other antibacterial you can put on. You spray it on your telephone, the receiver, you spray it on your keyboard, your cell phone, you wipe it down, let it sit for 30 seconds. When you wash with soap, which is your best disinfectant, you put the soap on and you lather. You take each hand and you massage it in with your knuckles of your other, so your whole hand has been massaged for 30 seconds. It takes 30 seconds of washing the hands. Go into any airport in America and you don't see people spending 5 seconds. They run their hand under the water, and that didn't do anything. Put it this way. What if you'd work in a coal mine all day long, you go home, and you say, I'm going to take a shower. And you walk in, you turn on the water, you don't use soap, it's on for 10 seconds, you walk back out. You're not clean. So you're not clean on your hands unless you thoroughly wash them on top, on bottom, and then knuckle both sides. Do not ever, under any circumstances, no matter what anyone tells you, use an air dryer. It's loaded with feces. You're going to have dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of people's feces on your hands. Then you touch your face. Beards and mustaches contaminate. I have yet to see a person that had a beard or mustache that when tested didn't have feces in it. So clean your surface area down.
Sure, I'm happy I shaved mine off recently. Thank you, Amy, for influencing me to do that. Gary, I need
airplane, one more second. I'm trying to save people's lives here. So when you get on an airplane, the first thing you do is wear some old clothes. Make sure that you have long sleeves on, pants and shirt, because any surface area you touch can contaminate you. And if you doubt that, look at the scientific peer-reviewed literature on MRSA virus, which is deadly, killing tens of thousands of people, far more people than we will probably die of this. And you alcohol down you're allowed 3 ounces, so take 3 ounces, three 3-ounce bottles on. You take a paper towel, you alcohol down the belt, the safety belt and buckle completely, because everyone touches that, the arms, the headrest, because any place you sit, that surface area could have viruses and bacteria that are pathogenic. And that could end up being on your clothes, and you take it home, you sit on your couch. Take your shoes off when you walk in the house. You would not want to know what's on the back or on the bottom of your shoe that's going to dry and then go into the air, and that's landing on all the surfaces. Put down the toilet seat. Now, this is from an actual experiment I conducted when a lot of the scientists at the Institute got sick, and we couldn't figure out why they were sick this week. And then I went downstairs. My laboratory was on the 3rd floor. This was the 1st floor where all the people doing cancer research were. And there was one bathroom. Now, I went in the bathroom, and I thought, well, where in the heck is the toilet cover? There was none. Like in no airport is there a toilet cover. Most offices don't have a toilet cover. So one person went in. We lathered the entire surface area with agar. And the next morning, after one person used the bathroom, over 400,000 bacteria and 27,000 viruses could be measured in there. Now, that's from one flush. Just remember, if anyone in your house uses the bathroom and does not put down the toilet seat, then it's like the toilet sneezed and tens of thousands of particulate matter come out. It lands on your toothbrush, your soap, everything you touch. And how many people have cleansed this flusher on a toilet after they've wiped with that hand, flushed that? Now, either they wash not realizing when they touch that again they're contaminating, or clean down, always have alcohol in there, and always have a cup that you put your toothbrush upside down in with hydrogen peroxide. That disinfects it. When I bought stuff at the store, no matter what store, and I bring it home, the first thing I do is I clean it. If it's box stuff, I alcohol out the surface and then rub it down, then put it away. If it's produce of any kind, I wash it and spin it and dry it. Then it's clean and ready to go, and you put it in one of the environmental bags, and it'll stay twice as long. And that way, that's just...
Gary, you and I need to talk about doing these little vignettes. That's not the purpose of this program. We appreciate your wanting to save lives. We do too. But really, I want to... You don't want to be political. I do for this show, and I own the radio station, and this is my show. So that's what we're going to do for the rest of the show. So, but I would like to talk to you. I think what you're talking about is fantastic.
My friend, that's a backhanded statement, but if you want to do that, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, Gary, can I say something here, Michael?
Lives.
Go ahead.
And if you and I never speak again...
Gary.
Don't get your feelings hurt.
Insult me twice.
Gary. You know, there was something you said I wanted to re-examine.
He doesn't want to listen to you, and he's not going to. He probably's already hung up.
I listened for 39 minutes to you.
Gary.
Oh, poor baby.
Gary.
Okay.
You still there, Gary? I guess not.
No, he's there. He can hear you.
Gary.
I don't know what the music is. Are you playing music? Yeah, he was playing music. Josh.
Gary, are you still there?
He's there. He's potted down because he's not going to let you or me talk. Go ahead, Tom.
Anyway, Gary, I wanted to go back to something you said earlier about the farm life and how robust you were as a child, and most of us were as children, by being outside. Because the answer here is to be more robust through the way you live, by being outside, by being in the sun and the wind and exercise and having healthy food from the farmer's market and things like that. Are you still there?
Oh, he hung up. He did hang up this time.
Okay, well.
I called a guest a prick once. I guess he called me a prick, so I guess I'm a prick.
But it's all right.
You warned me about him. You passed me a note saying Gary has to be interrupted now and then or he will talk forever, and you're absolutely correct. So, I mean, the guy's got good information, but he's an amateur human being as far as I'm concerned. So go ahead, Tom.
Well, anyway, just to put things back on track, I thought Gary said a lot of good things, but the main problem I see here is that if people develop a mindset that all these germs are their enemies and forget the fact that for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors, on the most part, managed to get through all this. And They did it because they're very robust. I mean, people who get their food from the farmers market, which is really good, fresh, organic food, people who surf, people who swim, people who dance, people who get out and live naturally, they have a totally superior immune system to somebody who's living inside a plastic bag. And I think the people who don't take care of their health are the ones that really have something to be concerned about with this this virus or any viruses. And I did bring up this question of classification. It's not easy to determine precisely what viruses there are. You know, they use electron microscopes in huge labs. They have very specialized tests to try to determine one virus being different from another virus. So we're being told that they're just sort of randomly classifying these as coronavirus. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know. They're telling us this, they're telling us that, and they're trying
but Tom, why not be safe? Isn't it better to be safe than sorry all the time?
It's fine with me. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we have or had Gary on the line, because he was bringing up a lot of...
You were the one who kept telling me to get him off because he was using up the whole show, okay?
Well,
so I finally did.
I think it's appropriate that he lets other people talk.
Yes, and he obviously doesn't know how to do that. He was a very rude individual, as far as I'm concerned.
But I've had a lot of good interviews with him.
Well, I'm sure he's a bright guy and he knows his stuff for sure. But he doesn't have any kind of decorum at all, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you want to take calls? You want to see what?
We don't have any. So let's go back to our good friend Rico. Hey Rico, it's sort of like the Wild West here today on the Saturday Special. But anyhow, so how are you doing in the vicinity of Torino in Italy?
Mike, can I clarify one important point?
Please.
Before I go on? We are not locked down because we won't save ourselves from the coronavirus. Coronavirus can't kill anyone by itself. Problem is that the intensive care units present in the whole country of Italy are like 4,000. Now, if we have more than that in infected people, how can we save lives? If the Lombardy region, the region where Milano is, itself has more than 1,700 infected people, there's no way for our healthcare system to save them all. That's the reason why we are trying to save our relatives' life, people that we love life. That's the reason why we are on a huge lockdown. The virus itself, and I agree with Tom when he say that flu kills more people than the coronavirus every year. I agree with that. And I also agree with the aspect that a lot of coronavirus different type exist. Problem is that weak people, sick people, and old people are infected now, and their breathing system can survive.
Rico, hate to interrupt you. We're going to be chopped off by the news in less than 10 seconds here, but we're going to hold
Coastline near the Santa Cruz-San Mateo border along Highway 1. We've also got some showers up along the Soquel-San Jose Road Mountains as well. That's going to be the theme for the rest of the day. Tomorrow we're expecting a high of 56 and overnight temperatures getting down to the low 40s. KSCO News Talk time 11:06. Time now for the Saturday Special, right after our obscene profit break that is programmed in here.
KSCO Radio News is brought to you by the Central Coast Commercial and Industrial Roofing Specialist, Bay Quality Roofing and Waterproofing.
And go ahead. MZ, do you want me to fire off our Hour 2 intro here?
hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go.
Hello.
It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Just reset the board. You're on.
So the board needed to be reset. Thank you for resetting it. That's the first time that ever happened. Here.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
Welcome to hour number 2 of a spicy Saturday special. We're talking about the virus that no one seems to stop talking about because that's what's on everybody's mind. And it's no different here, although I was not going to, being the different person that I am, I thought we would talk about a totally unrelated subject today. But instead what we're doing is talking about that subject in a different sort of way. We have Tom Quinn on. And Tom, after the last hour where you heard me, you heard our friend Rico in Italy, who's on live, who will be back on with us and who can hear this, and you heard Dr. Gary Null. Your point is what? Your point is that we've been overreacting, and every year for time immemorial, we've had threats like this or worse. And why are we behaving so hysterically now? Is that basically your message?
I think it's being orchestrated.
Okay. By whom?
Well, there's people that have things to gain by creating this sort of panic. Basically, you have companies that approached the government, said they wanted a bunch of money. I think they got something like $8 billion from President Trump. I mean, that's a good bit of change.
Yeah.
That's going to go to the pharmaceutical industry and the vaccine industry.
Okay. Hold that thought. I just realized that I'm so discombobulated today because you never know what's going to happen, that I have failed to do something very important. Ed with Rogue Pies, our sponsor for the second hour of the Saturday Special. Did you hear the first hour?
Yes, Mike.
Are you ashamed to be a sponsor of anything on KSCO now?
No. I think we just have to have reasonable mindsets and use a little bit of intelligence, and we'll be fine.
Right. Okay.
Hear.
Yes. And now, your Rogue Pies, I have never heard anybody say anything negative about, including myself.
Yeah, and today's a special day. It's Pie Day.
Yeah.
And in spite of all the things that are happening, we have to do a little bit of celebrations. And of course, with Rogue Pie, we make these handheld, savory pies that once you bite into it, everyone gets happy. And it's sort of some sort of nostalgia, and everyone really enjoys it. And so that's what we're going to be celebrating today. And we do know that there's some people that are worried about the virus and that. And for them, we have options that they can come and grab the frozen pies and take them home and quarantine themselves. But for those who want to come out, we're going to be at Eastcliff Brewing Company from 3 till 7:30. We're going to have a couple of special celebrating Pie Day. We have our pie wagon. We have pie and gravy, and everyone loves pie, gravy, and mash. And we even have mushy peas to make sure that everyone's happy. Sort of a pre-St. Patrick's Day, a little bit of green. And you can come get a pie and a pint from Eastcliff Brewing Company for $12. And we're going to have over 10 different warm pies, meat, chicken, veg, even non-pastry options like shepherd's pie, Scottish pies.
Is your radio wet, Dave? Ed, my microphone was wet with drool. It's delicious sounding. Yeah, and I've had them, and everybody here at KSCO has had them and raves about it. It's the best thing they've ever put in their mouths, food-wise.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Yeah. So anyhow, Eastcliff Brewery is where?
It's just up the road from you. It's basically on the corner of East Cliff Drive and 17th Avenue in the strip mall there.
Oh.
The same area they do the Live Oak Farmers Market.
Right.
And East Cliff Brewing Company is going to be right next to the dollar store there. So if you don't see East Cliff, you see the dollar store. You should see my red pie wagon as well. So
now we've seen that before on the Sunday farmers markets. That you I think you go to every other one. Am I right?
I'd go to the first and third Live Oak, first and third Sunday, and the first and third Wednesday at Downtown Farmers Market.
Right. Okay.
And then we do delivery. So for those who've got worried about the coronavirus and don't want to get out, they just leave their cooler out, they order online, and we drive by and we drop it off. We do a weekly delivery run.
Oh man, that's like auto ship on longevity. And so yeah, I think now. Thank you for putting that information out. I think you're going to get a whole bunch of them. Once people try your rogue pies for the first time, they become hooked, guaranteed.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Hey, all the best. So you're going to be there today at East Cliff Brewery until when?
From 3 o'clock this afternoon till 7:30.
Great. Okay, 4.5 hours. Good. So, even if it's raining a little bit, it's worth going to for sure. And if I'm in town, I'm going to do it too. So, hey, thank you, Ed from Rogue Pie. Great to hear from
Thank you.
And thank you for sponsoring this portion of the Saturday Special. Jonty. Hi, Jonty.
Hi, MZ. Hi, Tom. Hey.
No, wait. Yeah, he said, hey. Yeah. Oh, so anyhow, Jonty, have you been here listening to the program?
Yeah, I've heard some of it.
Oh. Okay. So what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah, actually, I should say that you call in at the beginning of every second hour of the Saturday Special. We started this about a month and a half ago, of you calling in and giving a digital update from ZBS and KSCO. We've been not very good over the years of keeping our audience abreast of all things digital in the world of KSCO and ZBS radio. And you're the guy, so you and I came up with the idea that you should do 3 or 4 or 5 minute update, hour number 2 of every Saturday Special. So here you are. Now I know that you are very, very interested in this topic, and if anything, you are. Well, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You tell us where you stand.
Well, I mean, I can tell you a brief history of my experience with this situation, but
yeah,
first,
that's good.
I just want to tell you that my process isn't to be a smart person or a personality or anything like that. I'm smart enough to see what the smart people are saying. And I first heard about this virus coming out in Wuhan, China in late December. And I went and I looked at what people were saying about the virus, and I did the math. I looked at the math, because this is a math problem. It's unfortunate. You find out how bad people actually are at math very quickly. The general population, they graduate from high school and they forget everything they learned. But this is a math problem, essentially. It's a very ugly, scary math problem. One of the things that you find when you do the math problem with this particular disease is that it absolutely is not Ebola, and it is not SARS, and it is not Zika, and it is not MERS. Its very nature is different because the math is different. And when I saw the math, I thought, oh, crap. And then I did what I do. I went and I tried to find out what the smart people were saying about this situation. And they were saying, oh, crap, look at the math. Get ready, this is going to be a wild ride. We need to do something now. We need to do, all of us need to collectively do something now, something major. And it was mid-January where I was doing the right thing to do at that time, which was to, at that time, go to the store and stock up on food and stock up on everything you need. Yeah, I guess get a little extra toilet paper. That's not really going to save your life. But the reason why you do that early is that the stores realize that people are going to need more food. You do it before there's a big rush. You don't wait in line. You don't cause some kind of major problem. And you also just notify your friends and family that it's probably a smart thing to do at this time, just to make sure that we're all in reasonably good condition, so you don't have to freak out later. So you don't have to be running around frantically downtown. Like Jack was describing a guy yesterday on the air that was in Trader Joe's talking about we have to spend at least $500 a day or something like that. Obviously, very high-strung and high-stressed. But there are reasons to be uncomfortable, given the math. It's the math, and it's what the smart people are saying. It's what Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, is saying. It's what a panel of experts at San Francisco University are saying. It's what folks who've spent their entire life studying disease are saying. They're saying the math is bad, guys. But there's some good news out there. If you take a look at South Korea, they've got the thing under control. You take a look at Hong Kong, they've got the thing under control. Singapore, a lot of places have figured it out. They figured it out early. They overreacted early. Japan had 200 cases and they closed schools nationwide, which does two things. It reduces a disease vector, but it also sends a very clear signal to the public, to their public, that this is serious. And they've gotten it under control in Japan. Unfortunately, what we're seeing happen in Italy, we're right now on the same trajectory. And what the doctors in Italy are saying to us, what the people in the Lombardy region of Italy, northern Italy is the rich part of Italy. And the hospitals over there that are completely overrun, they're some of the best hospitals in Europe. And what they're saying to us is, look, guys, washing your hands doesn't cut it. We all said, hey, we'll be careful. We'll wash our hands more. We'll use some hand sanitizer. And what they're seeing is a continued rise and escalation in their situation there. The hand washing didn't cut it. And they saw the writing on the wall, and they shut the whole country down. Right now, if you're in Italy and you get in a car and you try and drive somewhere, you'll get pulled over and told that you need to go back home. You'd be given a big fat ticket because you don't have permission to be out. I would like to see a scenario where we don't get to that state, but given the math, we're about a week or two or maybe 3 away from a similar situation. Of course, the U.S. is a very big country, a little bit more diverse than Italy, but we're still headed. In terms of what the math is saying, we're on a trajectory right now. We had like 3-4 days ago, about 5 days ago, I think we had 100 new cases identified, then 300, then 330, then 450. Yesterday it was over 700. Today we're on track to, at this point in time, I would say, based on having watched the numbers very closely, probably over 1,000 new confirmed cases today. So it's not difficult to tell what's going to happen. It's called a doubling rate. Right now our doubling rate is about 3 or 4 days. So that puts us on track to be in the range of millions of people infected in April, depending on exactly how you figure that math out. So when you end up in that situation, you end up with an awful lot of people dying unnecessarily. What South Korea has done is they've controlled the situation, so they have plenty of ICUs, plenty of ventilators. They can take care of the people that are sick. The hospitals are, the hospital staff has time to deal with the coronavirus patients and the regular patients. So one of the big impacts is that when this overwhelms your system, there's a whole bunch of folks who are waiting for a surgery or waiting for just any kind of normal health care, and they don't have time. The doctors are saying, like, I'm sorry, we have very limited resources. In Italy, they're in a situation where they've got 2 folks sitting next to each other, and they have 1 ventilator, and they both need a ventilator if they're going to live. And they're saying, I guess go with the younger person. Incidentally, plenty of reports about young folks who are dying from this. So all of you find out a lot about your community and just how incredibly arrogant we've gotten over the years. California, 5th largest economy in the world. Silicon Valley, our home prices are going, through the stratosphere. But the funny thing is, we still have a nose and a mouth and lungs and an anus, and we contract this disease and we give it to other people. And the math isn't friendly at all. all the folks who are there saying, well, the flu kills 40,000 people a year, but that's not what the math problem is. You got the math. It's like a word problem in school. You got a word problem, and people just blow it. They get the word problem wrong because they didn't read what the paragraph said. But what the paragraph says is, here's the word problem. In an entire year, the flu kills X number of people. Let's say 50,000. So here we are with a new disease, and the math's different. The mortality rate's different. The rate of spread is different. All of that's much worse. And we're at the very beginning of the year. And now the math problem is, by the end of the year, how many people will this have killed? And the smart people, unfortunately, not me, the smart people are saying it's between, just in the U.S., it's between 500,000 and 1.5 million. So to say that this is just the flu, you haven't done the math problem right. It's just a math issue. It's like a math deficit that we're suffering from here. And what the Italians are saying is, forget about it. Washing your hands ain't going to cut it. The only thing that cuts it is just to stay home. That's the only way. That's what China did. That's how China controlled it. They were draconian. They said, you're all going to stay home. You're not going to go out. You get to go out once a week to collect some food, and then you go back home, one person from your family. China was able to do that, and they've apparently gotten the situation under control. Although it was a hell of a lot worse there than they told the world, unfortunately, and lots of evidence for that. Likewise, Iran's talking about 600 dead. We have satellite images of them just digging trenches in cemeteries with a tractor and having a huge big pile of lie there so that they can bury all of the people that are dying. It's not 600 in Iran. Unfortunately, it's much, much worse. And that's not Alex Jones saying that. That's not the conspiracy wing of society, which I'm usually a part of. But that's the folks who are mainstream doctors. That's folks who are the usual people that you depend on to be the anchors of society. They're the ones saying these things. So we're in a hell of an unfortunate situation, and I would like people to be concerned and take this seriously. There's a lot of different angles to this, and I do appreciate Dr. Biles taking the perspective that this could be a tool that is used to steer us towards a more totalitarian type of situation. Yes.
It wasn't Dr. Biles. It was Tom Quinn, who's here in the studio.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said the wrong name.
Yeah. But anyhow, he's been gesturing to wrap this up. So I think what you're saying is irritating, Tom. So Tom, please get on and challenge Jonty a little bit.
Well, I'm all for common sense situations here. I just don't want to see some sort of full-on attack on our constitutional liberties because it sets bad precedents. And in Italy, they do not have the same sort of legal system we have. And basically, the idea that some politician can shut down thousands of businesses just at the stroke of a pen, which will lead to bankruptcy and total disruption of many families financially, to me is very questionable. So I do admit there's room for variance of opinion on this subject, and obviously different countries and different peoples are going to take different directions on this, but I certainly, the other thing is the statistics are in debate. We don't know the precise numbers. We're being told numbers. We're being told people die from a certain something or other, but we don't have firsthand information. And indeed, here in the United States, they were talking about bringing out testing kits. They don't even have the proper testing kits because there's so many billions of different types of viruses. Traditionally, they'd have to have an electron microscope to identify one virus from another. So, there's a lot of questions here. I don't claim to have all the answers, but
okay.
We'll see.
All right. So, Jonty, with that, we want to thank you. Unless you have anything else to add, we will say goodbye to you until next week.
That's fantastic, MZ. I just want everybody out there to recognize that this is a serious situation, and we just got to spend a week or two at home, maybe a month. and then we'll be past this.
Exactly. Okay, great. Thank you, Jonty, our Director of Digital Media for ZBS and KSCO. And let's check in with Rico again, back in Italy. Rico, you've been monitoring this. Do you have any thoughts about what you've heard? Anything you want to add or ask about?
Yeah, I heard everything, and I'm gonna say that it was right. Our healthcare system here is doing really well, and I want to thank any one of them working really hard, 20 hours a day to save lives. So I'm kind of mad at people that underestimate numbers, and because people here is working their ass off to really save life. And it's not a joke, it's not a game, it's for real. This virus is bad, and it's better we take care of it soon, because now is late. I can't imagine if we don't take care of it now, how bad it could be in 10, 15 days. We shut down the country now to see the result in 1 week, 10 days or so. So we just have to wait and see. And I agree when they say that to wash the hand is not enough. We have to stay home. That's it.
Now, Tom, that's can't be bad advice, even if what you say is true, that it's a overreaction, that there's better to be safe than sorry again, right?
It depends on the situation. I mean, traditionally when there was these sort of situations, they'd quarantine people who were extremely sick. And I'm not against reasonable medical practices, but on the other hand, I would think that there's a lot of businesses in Italy right now that are in danger of going bankrupt. How are people supporting themselves if they're not working, if they're not being able to run their shops and businesses?
Well, okay, so I guess it's up to the
So
people,
it's sort of a balance.
unless the government quarantines. For example, we had a situation at KSCO this week where we had a meeting on Monday to talk about the probability of things getting worse and how we were going to react to it. And by the end of the week, it was determined that we should probably invoke some of those ideas, which I thought were pretty draconian. And so it would have been to shut the radio station down and make it so that only one person can be here who was not a technical person. It didn't last very long in the realm of possibility. So anyhow, here we are. We are still operating KSCO. What would have bothered me is if we had been ordered by the local or state or federal government to shut down, and I think that would have been idiotic because we are like a lifeline to the public. You know, we're live, we're real time. You don't need a computer and you don't need internet, which could be down, to receive us. So anyhow, we want to get to some phone calls. We're going to keep Rico on the line here with us and check in with him periodically to see if he has anything to add. And I think what he has said is absolutely fantastic and very, very important. And I thank him for being available to speak from the heart. So let's take our next caller to the Saturday Special now, and that will be Aaron in Monterey. Hey, Aaron, welcome to the Saturday Special. You are on the air.
Hello, old friend. I haven't been listening as much for whatever reasons, but I always try to check in. And I was a little disappointed at first this morning, I just want to say. Because I was like, what is MZ going to be doing right now while his business is still runnable and is a valuable asset? You know, I've been listening to KGO and stuff, I hate to say it, and KZU, NPR, and I wanted to see what you were going to bring. And I couldn't barely listen. Had to turn the radio off and on. But I came back, and I was glad I did because Jonty, one of your talents, I wish he was on the air more. Maybe he doesn't want to be or you can't pay him, but...
he's a good boy despite what everybody says.
Yeah, what he was saying is kind of what I'm thinking. Overconfidence is a pandemic. We don't know what's going on right now. So when I wanted to figure out what's going on, I turned on your radio. I heard somebody who it sounds like he has it all figured out. Again, he came back on and said he doesn't know everything. I think he should not know more, if that makes any sense. We don't know what's going on. And Jonty got into the math, and if he was still listening, I heard about a guy on your through Vernon, another one of your best talents ever. If he was on more, I'd be listening more. He talked about Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize laureate. You should all look him up. Overconfidence is one of his things. But he's moving on to noise. He's going to write a book on it. He's already signed a multi-million-dollar deal. He studied bias, which is, overconfidence could be like that. Thinking you're looking at the wrong thing. Now he's moved on to noise, which gets into the math of it, and that they look at like insurance adjusters, and none of them can come up with the same figure for a quote, stuff like that. So when Jonty talks about the smart people, that's who I'm looking for too. And the smart people are cautious about the conclusions they're jumping to. Do you follow me?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
we haven't heard, talking about smart people, we have yet to hear from Colonel Terry. There must be something wrong. I hope he's okay, because he's a smart person.
Kind of, but again, he jumps to so many conclusions. Right?
Well, he has very strong feelings about just about everything. That's true.
Right, and things are.
But as a smart person, he has the right to do that, don't you think?
I love Colonel Terry. Don't get me wrong. I just want all of us to be more cautious and to look at overconfidence that we don't know. Again, we don't know if we should go out and buy toilet paper all right now or not. We kind of know we should. We do it before we. Well,
it wouldn't hurt. It's not going to go to waste. You'll ultimately use it if you don't croak first.
Yeah, but
what did you say, Tom?
It's a good investment.
Yeah, good investment, Tom says. Yeah. Okay, hey, listen, thank you very much, Aaron. Nice to hear from you again. We missed you. Yes. Be common. Look forward to hearing from you more frequently, as in the past.
Thanks so much.
Okay, here comes Steve in Pacific Grove. Steve, you're on the air on the Catterdays. I can't even talk. You know what you're on the air on.
Hey, listen, I just wanted to give you a thank you note for stepping up as far as providing a little bit of leadership. I mean, the Colonel Terrys and the guys that don't lean his way. Look at this gentleman that you've had on. I love Tom. He's given common sense.
So do I. Yeah. And Tom thought it was very important to have a learned person with the background and facts and figures. And that's why we had Dr. Gary on, so.
Well, the other guy was talking about do the math. No. You can't just do the math like that in some bonehead like me. You got to think about this stuff. You got to make decisions. It's like your partner saying, all these guys in Italy that might lose their business. Well, walk around down here in PG. There's people that are scared. I mean, you got to think about this stuff.
Okay, I will.
Well, that's why I love your program. I just called to say thank you so much, Mr. Zwerling. Your mom would be proud of you. Your dad would be proud of you.
I just love compliments. Let's keep you on for the rest of the day.
Hey, no. I'd rather listen to Tom talk. He makes a lot more sense than I do.
Okay. All right.
Well, thanks a lot, Bart.
We're going to get Rico. Do you have anything to say to Rico, who's listening back in Torino?
I'd ask him to talk to Tom about the businesses. He's absolutely right.
Well, that's important, but if you really listen to what I was saying, I wasn't really disagreeing with Rico or Jonty, or anyone for that matter. I was trying to pull the conversation in the direction of what health is and how people get healthier by the way they eat, by the way they live, by what they do, and by the way you bring up children. And, you know, the station sells supplements. There's things people can do to get healthier. That's the solution. The solution isn't wiping down everything in the world with, sanitizer. The solution is not shutting down all the businesses and creating an economic downturn. I mean, let's pull the conversation back to the preventive aspects of this before, people start tearing up pages of the Constitution.
MZ, that's why I love you. Listen to this man. It's called
I am
common
listening.
sense.
Hey, I invited him to be the guest. Remember that?
Hey, Tom, run for office, okay? Do something.
Zwerling knows it's not always fun doing these sort of things. It's sometimes a little painful. I mean, you're putting yourself out there, and some people are going to like what you say, and some people don't. So that's why I'm trying to hit a positive note here. We want people to be healthier. If you have somebody that's been eating junk food all their life, you go through their house, and their refrigerator is filled with food that's got all sorts of questionable chemicals in it. You look underneath their sink, and there's black flag and glycophosphates, and you look in their bathroom, and their shampoo and underarm deodorants are loaded with carcinogens, and they're living on Hostess ding-dongs. I mean, why are they sick? Well, of course they're sick. How could it be otherwise? So when something like this comes along, they're wiped out. But we can't throw our whole society away because there's some people living on Hostess ding-dongs. I mean, let's have a little common sense here.
I have received.
Thank you, Tom.
Oh, okay, and thank you, thank you, Steve and PG. Okay, appreciate your calling 479-1080. Okay. He disappeared. Okay. Before we go to our next caller, whom I think will be Margaret in Santa Cruz, I think, either Margaret or Rich, I have to read something very, very disturbing, an email that I got, okay, from J.K. Vance. And there was, at the end it signed Kathy. And I'm wondering if this isn't Kathy the Troll from a long time ago.
Kathy the Troll.
Well, I got very upset with Kathy, with someone whom I dubbed Kathy the Troll several months ago. And then it sort of became a good humored, back and forth. But this one says COVID-19 in the subject. Your guests sound important and knowledgeable until they start talking their agenda, whatever they push to make a living. Say what? Is that what Tom's doing? Is that what Dr. Gary was doing? I was hoping you would have a serious, unbiased program on our situation right now. What do you think I'm doing? I'm having Tom on, and I'm having people who think Tom's all wet on also. I mean, I think people in the media are spreading fear, but I'm not sure it's some globalist thing. I am concerned the overstocking of supplies and leaving other people without a source to buy needed items because of hoarders. These are some things I was hoping they'd discuss. By the way, I appreciate the updates that Charlie is doing daily. They sound sane and rational. And it's signed Kathy. Is it Kathy the Troll? You don't know, Tom. Maybe Kathy will.
One little comment here about, she was talking about globalists. It's not necessary to make this thing so complicated. Somebody approached the government and managed to get $8 billion for this whole thing. Who got that money? What's it going to go for?
If you were the president, would you not have risen to the occasion and appropriated some serious funds that are needed?
Well,
wouldn't you have done that?
I mean,
or better?
Well,
I guess the Trump haters are probably saying that he didn't allocate enough. $8 billion is nothing. It should have been $100 billion.
Well, if you notice, I'm being careful here. I'm saying we should look into the money, how much it is, and where it's being spent. Who's getting it? Who's getting it? Where's $8 billion? That's a fair amount of coin. Who's getting it? Where is it going? Where do they plan on doing it? I mean, look at the amount of money the government gets in general. They lose $1 billion here, they lose $1 trillion there. I'm just saying look into it.
Well, I'm certainly not going to argue with that. I'd love to look into it, but I don't have the time.
Of course,
and
and
so
that's-
many people, and
That's the problem.
you
with
have
everyone.
you make more time because it's more important to you.
Right.
But even you don't have the time, I'm sure, really, because you're
'cause
still making a
we have to
living.
work,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, 479-1080 if you want to join the show. And we still do have Rico on board with us. Rico, are you there? Do you have anything to say at the...
For just a few more minutes.
Okay, very good. Yeah, a few more minutes is the end of the show anyhow, but we appreciate your being on with us for as long as you want. Have you heard anything you want to respond to in the last few minutes?
No, because I had to shut down the volume on my computer to hear you.
Oh, I see. Okay, great. Well, so we'll check in with you right before we sign off. So thank you for being with us. Appreciate it. Let's see. Our next caller will be none other than Margaret in Santa Cruz. Hi, Margaret.
Hi. You're a comfort to all the people all over the airwaves of America. Thank you.
Oh.
We are at war. This is a bio war. It could be a coup. Look, stress, anxiety, it all compromises the immune system. Tom Quinn will
Stress
confirm that.
must be viewed as a disease-causing entity. That is true.
You have a nice voice, Margaret.
Thank you. Worry is a sin. Trust and prayer will be comforted, but you have to remove the sin of worry. When you're stuck at home with your family, that can be stressful right there. You know, you got to sit together and play the I like game. Each one goes around and says, I like pizza, I like puppies, I like, butterflies, blah, blah, blah. Get to know each other. Have living room picnics. Research stress reduction exercises. Classical music, singing, baking cookies, comedy, giggling, hot bubble baths, reading aloud, writing letters and cards.
There you go. Healthy stuff. Going to the farmer's market. Going surfing.
Making
going dancing.
collages.
And going
making
and get
collages.
some rogue pies. Mmm.
Right.
Yeah, planting a garden. You got to just reach down and be creative with your family right now. Do not allow stress to reduce your immune system. That is our weapon against this virus and this war.
I think that's very good advice. And you mentioned prayer, and I mentioned prayer earlier in the show, is that anyone who's reasonably humble can see it's a big universe, it's a big world, there's a lot of variables. No one really has all the answers. It helps to ask for God's guidance because, just like this question today, there's a lot of little ramifications to it.
Okay, thank you very much for calling 479-1080, Margaret. All the best. Next caller, Rich in B. Lomond.
Yes. I heard President Trump say that this corona thing was a pandemic. Well, back east in Europe, Middle Ages, they had what they call the Black Death. And you look into that, you find it was the problem of lack of sanitation and perhaps overpopulation. So what I'm suggesting that there's other ways of dealing with this. And wide open borders might have something to do with it, people coming in here with other diseases. And I'd also like to add that I personally am going out in public to a certain extent just to, in case somebody has it, I will hopefully develop an immunity rather than staying home and then all of a sudden getting sick because I haven't developed.
Yeah, maybe that's not the best advice. I don't know. I don't know what to think.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying earlier about creating a more robust life. It's better to have the kids rolling in the mud, and in the farms they'd be rolling in the mud. They'd be around animals' fecal matter and all sorts of the rough things of nature, and they develop an immunity to it. But, when you put a kid in a plastic bag and bring them up in a plastic bag, they get sick from anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's statistically correct, yes.
Well, how can we thank you for calling the Saturday Special today?
Well, my pleasure.
All right, thank you so much.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, take care. There goes Rich. Now, here comes...
Hi.
Mike. Hi, Mike.
I'm Nick.
I mean, Nick.
Royal Oaks. Hi. Hey, you know, the Italians named it influenza because they believed that the stars influenced it. So then a doctor came along and noticed that clowns were at a high rate of infection. So they observed that. They had handed out literature. And so that's how they received it. But, you know, you could absolutely observe it happening, and then you would call it a deep state, and you look at it and say, how would you prevent this corona thing, which absorbs toxins? So you would actually naturally, pre-ahead of time, get the fluorides out of water like you did. But we have been subject to so much that it's insane.
Well,
Okay.
let's start on a smaller level with your home or your friends' homes, that you don't have a lot of toxins inside your house, that you have the healthy diet, you go to the farmer's market, you exercise, do the things that, was it Margaret, that nice lady who called earlier?
The nice lady who called earlier, right.
Many things that you can do.
Yeah, who said that I'm putting out comfort. I wanted to keep her on for the rest of the show because I love
She's very positive.
personal compliments. Okay, hey, so let's see. Our next caller is going to be none other than Steve in Capitola. So you think...
show.
You think...
MD,
Yeah.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, fine.
It's funny because I talked to you, MZ, on the phone on Flight 1080 a week ago last Tuesday. We talked, and that was when you said, what are you doing, Steve, about staying out of harm's way, that conversation.
Yes.
And I said, well, at that time, MZ, there were 2,500 cases in Italy. And I said, the problem is the numbers. And Jonty is probably the most important speaker on the show today. If you look, I'm looking at it right now, Italy's up to 21,000 people. They have a tremendously high death rate of close to 8%. And
all right, let's while we have that's a good cue for us to check back with Rico. Rico, what are the statistics that you're seeing? Rico is actually in Italy and in shutdown mode.
I love Rico.
Okay,
Rico's
yeah, he loves Rico too. You have a big fan here, at least one. Rico. Yeah, but go. So what were you going to say? How are you getting your data, Rico?
Sorry, Mike. Can you redo the question, please?
Okay, how are you getting your data about the spread of the virus in Italy, where you are? We have a current caller, Steve in Capitola, who's used what number, Steve? That you said
you had 2,500 about 2 weeks.
2,500 cases less than 3 weeks ago.
Now it's 21,000.
And now it's 21,000. Does that agree with what you've seen too, Rico? You're right there.
Yes. So every day there is government specific unit. How can I say? Department. There is giving us every night at 6 p.m. on the news the official numbers of the coronavirus infected people. So that's how I'm getting my data, and it's on TV, it's everywhere. So we know every day, 6 p.m., what's going on. We went from 1,700s, more or less, yesterday to 2,100s today. So
21,000.
Oh, he says 21,000. Is it 2,100 or 21,000? And what is that number?
21,000.
Yeah,
21,000.
Okay, yeah. So you guys, your figures agree. Okay, great. So again, you have a new fan here, and I'm sure you got a bunch of them now, Rico. Here, so.
MZ, what I love about Rico, he's in the trenches. He's right there. He's
I have to forward that to him. What our caller says, what he loves about you is that you're in the trenches, Rico. Next time we talk, we'll have you wired in properly so you can talk directly, and I won't have to relay things. So.
Okay.
Anyhow, Steve, thank you for calling 479-1080. Let's go to Don in Salinas, who's an actual expert in personal protective equipment. Hi,
That's
Don.
right. I've dealt with it for years, and I wanted to let people know a few things about personal protective equipment. And number one is this: if UMZ came in with a bag of respirators and handed them out to everybody who worked for you, you would be liable for a lawsuit. You cannot wear a respirator until you've gone to a doctor and a doctor has established that you're healthy enough to put one on. If you have diminished lung capacity, if you have heart problems, you can drop dead wearing a respirator. They have that people running around putting these respirators on are being silly. That's because of all the fear mongering and the fake news telling you put on a respirator. You can get sick wearing a respirator. If you want good advice on how to protect yourself when you go out, have you a windbreaker, have you a pair of pants, have you a hat. That's your going out clothes. You go out with your hat and your windbreaker and your pants. You can buy a pair of safety glasses that have side protection. Don't wear a respirator. Wear a pair of knit gloves. If you put on latex gloves, you've got your own problems with that also. You can get dermatitis. There's people who are allergic to latex. None of the fake news is telling anybody this. And then when you come home, take those clothes off. Put them in the closet and put on some other clothes, and now you're home and you're safe.
Can I make a comment here?
Yes.
You know, what you're saying about the respirator makes sense to me in that, if you put a respirator on, you're breathing the same air over and over again, and you don't have as much fresh air in your lungs, I would think. What's your comment on that?
Well, if you wear the respirator for more than one day, you can get sick because the bacteria in your mouth collects in the respirator and becomes a nasty mess. And then when you put it back on, it's a nasty mess that you're breathing. You're not breathing clear air after that.
That makes
These things
sense.
are only made... What's that?
That makes sense. I mean, it gets dirty,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Right. So forget about the respirator. You're not going to really get sick by breathing this stuff in. But cover your eyes, cover your head, cover your body with the same clothes. Take them off, put them in the closet, and you're pretty much good on that. That's about as much as you can do to protect yourself. Wear a knit gloves because you're just putting a barrier between you and the shopping cart or whatever you're touching. Take your gloves off before you go into the house. Put them on the dashboard of your car and let the sun disinfect them. And also, antibacterial wipes do not kill viruses. Quit worrying about the damn bacteria. If you wipe down a place and kill the bacteria, you're creating another problem. How do you if you take antibiotics, you can kill the good bacteria in your guts, and then the bad bacteria grows. That's a problem with antibiotics. It's the same thing outside your gut. You wipe down the bacteria, you might be killing bacteria that's keeping bad stuff at bay. You don't know what you're doing, so just don't do it. Quit wiping stuff down. And lastly, if I can say this about the fear-mongering that's going on, when I hear stuff like there could be 1.5 million victims in the United States, I throw up in my mouth a little. There's not even that many in China, the epicenter, okay? You want to pretend there's a mass deal going on? There's not a mass deal going on. Look at the actual numbers. Don't deal in hypotheticals. Actually, victims are going down in China. Actually, victims are going down in Korea. Actually, in Italy, 21,000 people out of 60 million is squat. That's what you're
not only
supposed
that,
to be doing.
they're not bringing up the numbers of people who've gotten over it and deducting it from those numbers.
That's right.
So the number keeps growing and growing, and a lot of those people are fine now.
Yeah, and the death rates among sickly, elderly people are high. The death rates among children are zero. The death rates among young people are pretty low. So this is not the Black Plague.
What's your name? That was a pretty good
That's the Don in Salinas.
That was a pretty good little speech.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Don, there's all kinds of things people don't know about Don. He's a very, very brilliant guy.
I have a poem. Can you hear me still?
Sure.
A coronavirus
I have a little poem about it's a poem, but it goes to the flu and the coronavirus, how they're saying that one's worse than the other. There's a poem, and it goes like this. Terrible telegraph from the river Nile, uncle eaten by a crocodile. We were much relieved a little later when a second one told us it was just an alligator.
Oh, that was enjoyable. Hey, thank you so much. Here's Steve in Monterey. Steve, quick. You want to nip it in the butt. Steve? Okay, Steve, going once, going twice. Here's Marcella in Salinas. Marcella, you're on the air.
Marcella, how you doing?
Oh, hi. How are you doing, Tom?
Doing great.
Anyway, I'd like to ask Rico if he was aware of the massive demonstrations in Italy a couple of years ago when they were trying to implement forced vaccination.
I'm not sure Rico was still with us. He might be. And if he's listening, there's oh, you're still there, Rico? Did you get that? Okay, go ahead and answer, because we only have we have less than 2 minutes left.
Okay, and would it be okay with him to be forced to take a corona vaccine? There's like 20 that they're developing, and in the U.S., the government, the pharmaceutical people have no liability. So would he be... No one's talked about the vaccine that's coming, and they think that's the cure-all, which it isn't. But would he support...
Wow. Marcella, listen, I know what you're trying to say, and we have a really weird system here where he can't hear you in real time. I have to repeat it. Or we have to wait, 20 seconds for him to hear the stream. Anyhow, Rico, this is Marcella, who is very much against forced vaccines, as is Tom, and as am I, actually. What do you think? Marcella wants to know if you would be in favor of taking forced vaccines for the coronavirus in Italy.
Sorry of tracking.
Say that again?
What you said of doing what?
Taking government-forced vaccines against the coronavirus.
I'm really okay with that, because I'm seeing what's going on, and I'm completely in favor of this, because I want to help, and by staying home, I'm helping other people.
Right.
That's the way it is.
Okay, well, but not staying home. We're talking about taking a forced vaccine from the government, and that's what a lot of people here. Yeah, because anyhow, Marcella wanted to hear your response to that, and she got it, I think. So, golly, we have less than a minute left. Our apologies to Steve in Monterey. You weren't there when we got there, unfortunately. So, Lee and Spreckles and Dan in Pacific Grove and Bill in Santa Cruz. That's it. We don't have any time. I want to thank you, Rico. I want to thank you, Tom. And we even want to thank Dr. Gary Null. We really do. But that's it for the K. And we want to thank Josh. We want to thank the whole world. We want to thank everybody for listening to their favorite radio station, KSCO, Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey, San Jose. And I think we're going to play the That's All, folks, if there's any time to do it. Yeah, I think here it is. Here.